From the New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee, I'm Charles Purcell. This is The Log. Good to be back with you. Yesterday, of course, we spent the day on Afghanistan. That was really the only story that everybody was talking about. But I forgot to say, it's good to be back. I've been gone for close to a couple of weeks. My alter ego, of course, in my other life, I'm a musician, and I did my annual gig at the Wisconsin State Fair. And I got to tell you, I went through a range of emotions during the fair. First of all, I booked the gig while COVID looked like it was, we had it covered. And then as the gig approached, it all hit the fan, and the people who refused to get vaccinated let this thing spread, and now we got a new surge. And so I just felt really sort of uncomfortable even going and doing it in the first place. But I kind of looked at the situation. I thought, well, I'm vaccinated. It's outside. I can control my environment a little bit. I can try to keep my distance from people. I'm vaccinated, so, I'm not gonna get sick or die. The odds of that are so astronomically small. There's still a chance, but I mean, really, yeah, you can get it. You and I have talked about this. If you're vaccinated, you can definitely catch the virus. You can get COVID and you can spread it. So please continue to wear a mask whenever you're around people. Please continue to social distance. Just do the right thing, would you? Because we absolutely can. The odds are not low there. It's probable you're gonna catch it and you're gonna spread it. I mean, it's really quite likely if you're not careful. So So then I thought, okay, well, I'll honor my commitment. I said I'd do the job. I went and did it. Okay, so that's behind me. I'm not thinking about that anymore. But now it's the fair itself. And boy, this is true confession time. Every year that passes, I feel like more and more of a snob. I'm just having a very hard time relating to people who aren't like me. And I'm trying not to be judgmental, but my God, these people who go to the fair, it's all on me. This is a self-deprecating conversation right here. They're fine, wonderful people, I'm sure. But I just can't relate. I feel like I have to move to another country or something. Just the kinds of things they find entertaining, the kinds of conversations they have, the kinds of clothes they wear, just the kinds of people they are. I've strayed so far from that, from my roots as a small-town Wisconsin kid. I don't know. I need to be a better person. I felt so fish out of water there. The job itself, it's kind of a rough schedule for a musician. I do 2 shows a day at 4 and 5:30. Each show is a little bit over an hour. So that's a relatively rough schedule. I know if you're somebody who does physical labor, you think, what? But it actually is. To sing and play guitar for over an hour and take a 20-minute break and then do it again, it'll take a little bit out of you. I'm not getting any sympathy from you, am I? No. You got to do it to understand. Try singing and playing guitar for an hour and 10 or hour and 15 minutes. Take a 15, 20-minute break and then do it again. See how you feel at the end of that. I'm telling you, it's work. Well, day 1 or 2 of 11 days, I'm thinking, what in the hell have I got myself into? Why did I take this job? Why do I do this? Day 2, day 3, I'm feeling absolute dread and having just to get up out of bed and get up and go do this. Now, the first show wasn't until 4, so I got the whole day, right? Well, it doesn't quite work that way, especially for me, because I'm a little bit neurotic, and all I can think of is having to be there at 4. So I can't do anything else the rest of the day, the earlier part of the day. It's completely shot for me. And this is my own fault. I need a psychologist to help me figure this one out. But if I've got an appointment at 4 o'clock, nothing else is going to happen before that. It's all I can think about. So I was psychologically just flipped out. By the way, I didn't sleep. The entire run of the fair, I couldn't get to sleep. I would go to sleep at a regular hour, and it would be at least 3. And usually later, sometimes 4, sometimes 5, 6 in the morning, until I could get to sleep. Just because I knew I had something coming up, I had responsibilities I had to meet. So this is true confession day. These are my personal problems. So yeah, even though the show started at 4, the rest of the day was shot. And I wasn't ever quite sure about the traffic situation. Is it going to take me 20 minutes to get there? It's going to take me 45 minutes to get there. So, of course, I err on the side of caution. I leave a little earlier, which means I get there earlier. One time, it's a good thing I left earlier because there was a traffic jam due to an accident, and I had to go all around hell and back to get there. So I wound up getting there like perfectly on time, but only because I left an hour and a half early. This is why I live alone too. Nobody could live with me. I don't blame anybody for not wanting to be with me. Nobody could stand it. All right. So an 11-day run. Now I'm in day 4, 5, 6, and I'm really thinking, you're crazy. Why do you do this? This is just nuts. But then you hit that midway mark. You hit day 6 out of 11, and that's the hump day. Day 6, when you have an 11-day run, day 6 is hump day. And at the end of that day, on the way home, you're feeling good. I've made it over the hump. It's downhill from there. And by the time Friday comes, Saturday comes, it's really feeling like, hey, this is pretty much over. You feel like, a kid on Friday. It's Friday noon in school, but you're already feeling it. You're feeling that Friday feeling. Or if you have a Monday through Friday job, which I haven't had a Monday through Friday job for a long time, so that's not the first thing that came to my mind. But you know what I'm talking about. You hit Wednesday, hump day. You get through Thursday. You're feeling pretty good about Friday. It's like the weekend is here by Friday noon. Oh, man. So by Saturday, I'm like feeling great. And by Sunday, which is the last day, it's like, okay, free day. It's just, this is it. Just relax. Do your last couple of shows. Everything's fine. When this is over, it's all over. And then it's done. And psychologically, I'm thinking, well, that was a breeze. That just went like a snap. No problem. Even though I spent most of the time, especially the first 4 or 5 days, thinking this is a never-ending nightmare. What is it? Is it me? Is it just me, or do you relate to this at all? Oh, the emotions I went through over this last week. Good Lord Almighty. So, I mean, for a good portion of this, at least 5, 6, 7 days of the fair, I was convinced this is my last time doing this gig. There's no way I'm coming back next year. No way. You crazy? Impossible. But then on Sunday when it was over, I thought, I'll probably do it again. That wasn't so bad. Oh, man. And I noticed something that, well, I've noticed this for a few years, but man, it just really kind of bugged me this year. The biggest thing about the fair was the music. If you're not familiar with the Wisconsin State Fair, I know y'all have your state fairs. People love their state fairs. And people here in Wisconsin seem to love it. And we have a reputation. We have more music than anybody. We got music around every corner. There are bands playing. There's lots and lots of music at the state fair. Of course, they got the big headliners every night. And by headliners, I'm talking like, I guess the biggest name was the Beach Boys. Who else was there? Hank Williams Jr. So not A-list, but, pretty good for state fair. And then smaller stages, and then the really small stages with the local folks. Well, just walking around, the headliners aside, just the music that's blaring out from all different corners of the fair throughout the day and the night, I got to noticing, I swear to God, I never heard anything, one single song that was newer, more recent than about 1986. That's about as modern as we got. Everything we heard, everything I heard, and in fact, I started jotting them down. Signed, Sealed, and Delivered. And out of curiosity, I just looked at the dates, 1970. Girls Just Want to Have Fun, I Will Survive, Oh What a Night by the Four Seasons. From the country vein, Guitars, Cadillacs, Hillbilly Music. That was Dwight Yoakam? Who was that? But all of these are like 70s and 80s. Lay Down Sally. Live like a refugee, don't want to live like a refugee. 1979. It goes on, the list goes on and on. Every single band was playing old music that was 40, 50 years old or more. Now, I like a good tribute band once in a while. I think that's kind of cool. I've said before, and I'll always repeat, I'm not a big fan of cover bands necessarily. If you're going to be a band, let's hear your music. The whole notion of a cover band, to me, has always been kind of cheap and stupid. And it gets back to my snobbery about lowbrow entertainment. To me, a cover band is the lowest brow entertainment. If you want to hear Bon Jovi's Living on a Prayer, put on a record. I don't want to hear some damn cover band play it, even if they're perfect, especially if they're perfect. All the more reason just to put on the record. If you're going to do something weird with it, if you're going to make it your own, I mean, every band in the world does covers. That's not what I'm saying. The Beatles did covers. They started doing a lot of covers. That's fine. But do something with it. Make it your own. And the point of your band ought to be to show us what you've got. Yeah, I'm not a fan of cover bands. But I do have an appreciation for a good tribute band. That's different. Like going back to the fair, there was a Leonard Skinner tribute band. I saw a Journey tribute band. That's kind of cool. If you really just dedicate yourself to that one band and you do their songs and you explore all of their music. I don't know, there's something kind of kitschy and fun about that. But just the straight cover band, nah, that's cheap and easy and dumb. And I blame mostly the audience, the listeners, the people who make these cover bands popular. There are a couple big cover bands here in Milwaukee. You could name them. I won't. They play at every festival, every fair, state fairs and county fairs and street parties. And they're everywhere. There's a handful of them. And people just absolutely go ape over these bands. And they're just cover bands. I find this odd and weird, and I can't relate at all. I think what is wrong with you people? Now here I'm going to make a little bit of a confession. My particular act at the state fair is I do a Beatles sing-along. When I first pitched myself to the fair, I pitched myself to a couple of venues, and I gave them a couple of options. I said, I do kind of a wide range of music, the jazz standards, the American Songbook, as they call it, classic pop and rock. I do my own stuff, and it's a nice little variety, kind of jazz standards and pop and folk, Americana. So it's a nice mix. And then I gave them a list of 3 or 4 different options I could give them, and I happened to mention that I do a Beatles sing-along because I've done that just for fun at parties and stuff. Oh, they jumped on that idea. They just loved it. So now I've been doing it. This was the 6th annual Beatles sing-along. And it's not like a big tribute show. I don't do an impression. There's not 3 other guys with me. It's just me and an acoustic guitar. And as I introduce the show every day, I say, think of this just as your crazy uncle pulls out his guitar at a family party around the fire pit in the backyard, says, let's sing some Beatles songs. That's what this is. It's a nice informal sing-along. And it's been really popular. People come back year after year, and they sing along, and they stay for the whole show, and they stay for the next show, and so it's a good time. So I'm guilty of what I'm yelling about today. Because what I'm concerned with and what's not making me happy is all this old damn music. With the one proviso that, yeah, the kind of novelty thing or kitsch thing, I saw another band called the Doo-Wop Daddies, and they did like late 50s doo-wop. That's fine if you have a theme. But if you're just a regular band with regular music for regular people that day in and day out at every corner of the fair, and you guys are doing nothing but 70s and early mid 80s, this is what I find extremely strange. Imagine if you're somebody closer to my age, I'm in high school in the 70s. And say I go out to a bar on my 18th birthday, or prior to that, I go to the state fair in like the early mid 70s. Do you think I'm going to hear music that's 40 and 50 years old? I mean, let's do the math. Say 1972, 50 years old, 1922. You think I'm going to be hearing not just one or two songs, but predominantly song after song, day after day, band after band, venue after venue? It's always songs that are 1922 or 1932. You think that would happen? Well, it didn't. I'm here to tell you it didn't. For you young folks. When I went to Summerfest, which is our great large music festival here in Milwaukee, or if I went to the State Fair in 1972, I guarantee you I wasn't hearing, Yes, Sir, That's My Baby. I wasn't hearing flapper music. I wasn't hearing 23 Skidoo. That's the equivalent. That's the equivalent. If you were a kid in the 70s or 80s and you went out and all the music you heard, everywhere you turned, was music that was 40, 50 years old. So from the 20s or 30s or 40s. So it got me thinking. Oh, by the way, I talked to a couple of other musicians, and they said, yeah, every once in a while, somebody in the band will say, let's learn some newer music. But they always arrive at the same conclusion. Well, nobody wants to hear that. We keep getting hired because of what we do. They love this stuff. And I'll tell you, that's true. Even doing this Beatles sing-along, if I dare to do a little bit of a deeper cut that wasn't a number one hit, you can't believe the difference in response. I do She Loves You, Yeah, 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 or I Want to Hold Your Hand, or Hey Jude. Everybody perks right up. Everybody's with me. And like I said before, people love it. They come back and they tell me what a great time it is, and they love the show. But even the biggest fans, I can see them tune out. If I do say Fixing a Hole, which is the cool song, I'm fixing a hole where the rain gets in and stops my mind from wandering. They don't care. I lose them. I can watch them. I can lose attention. And this gets back to my dismay with people in general. Why are we so lame? My God, we're so lame. We can only accept music that's already been drummed into us over and over and over again. We can take no pleasure, no delight in being surprised by a song, or God forbid, learning a new song, hearing an original song from a band. We can't take any pleasure in that. What's wrong with us? And then my thoughts, I got to confess, they got a little bit dark. I thought, what is it that happened to people after the 70s and mid 80s, that their growth was stunted? They didn't want to hear any new music after that. Now, obviously, every era has new music, and there are new hits on the radio. There's a rotation. It never stops. But I tried to think, what is it in the world of music and popular culture that would create a world where people only wanted to hear the very oldest stuff? And I'm not even talking about people who came of age in the 70s and 80s. That's natural. That happens. Psychologists tell us about that. Yeah, you want to hear songs that you came of age with. So I said I was in high school in the 70s. I'm going to gravitate toward that. Well, To tell you the truth, I'm pretty damn sick of most of it. I do like hearing new music. I like being surprised, but be that as it may. So no, I'm not just talking about coming of age. I'm talking about everybody. I would look at the crowd. I mentioned Living on a Prayer. Bon Jovi's Living on a Prayer earlier. People, as soon as they recognize the song, they go nuts. And they're clapping along and they're singing along. Every single age. These are people who were barely toddlers in 1986, if they were even born at all. So it's not just a coming of age and hang on to your songs from your youth. No. I'm talking about something very different. I'm talking about a wide range. Everybody, the general public, doesn't want to go past the mid-'80s. They have no interest. So here's my dark thought that I had. Because when I looked around, I also noticed this is all white people. This is like entirely white people in this group, which is another thing. I felt a little weird about going to the fair. It's one of the reasons I retired basically from gigging. I took this one because, like I said, I already booked it. It's an annual event. I have a relationship with the people. I thought, well, maybe I'll go ahead and keep doing that. But generally, I've stopped gigging because the only way to make any money is to go out to the burbs and play for white audiences. I'd rather stick in my neighborhood and play for diverse audiences, but you can't make any money doing that. So my dark thought is, okay, I think it's got something to do with race. I think this is a white supremacist kind of thing. I really do. I honestly do. Because late 80s, early 90s, what was happening? What was happening in music? The only quote-unquote white music was, it was grunge. It was the Seattle sound. In the 90s, there were a lot of great female artists, Alanis Morissette and people like that. But the age of good old rock and roll, John Cougar Mellencamp and the aforementioned Bon Jovi, Heart, Barracuda, there's another song I heard a couple times at the fair, Barracuda, 1977 if you're interested. Rockin' America, Rockin' America, all right. Yeah, is that how that goes? Night Ranger, I think. Yeah, I heard all of these. I think it's a white racist thing. I honestly do. The white folks, including white parents and their young white kids, when they went to the fair, they didn't want to hear what was really happening in popular culture and radio, and that's more black-influenced rhythm and blues and rap and hip-hop. Because by the late 80s into the 90s, that's what was dominating, and it has dominated ever since. So white folks just froze in time. Fishing in the Dark, 1987. That's about as late as you want to go. There's a good white song. Now, you might think I'm using my imagination here. You might think I'm really stretching for this. But really, I think this is kind of a reasonable explanation. I think it's all about racism. Because I guarantee you, go to the Wisconsin State Fair. And for my listeners all around the country, I ask you, do you have comparable venues, comparable events, state fairs or things like that, places where you hear cover bands or even just corner bars where there's a bar band? Because this is happening in every bar. It's happening in all the bars as well. You just hear all this old music all the time. And I think it's racism. I honestly do. And it's a damn shame. If the world was a better place, if we lived in the kind of world I want to live in, the popular culture, music would continue to evolve, which it does. But a huge segment of the population, like the entire white world, wouldn't ignore it and get stuck in the 70s and 80s. There's nothing past that they want to hear. If we lived in the world I want to live in, bands would, all over the place, would be creating their own music. And we'd be constantly surprised at what they're doing. And we'd get terribly bored with the same old top 40 songs from a stretch of about 1971 to 1986. Because we're better than that. I don't know. You might think I'm being petty. I don't think I am. I think this is real. And I think it's a real gauge for our culture. I mean, honestly, how many times can you hear Sweet Caroline and get all excited and raise your hands? Because I saw it. I saw it multiple times. People of all ages, young people as well. Sweet Caroline, everybody yells, bop, 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 and they're all excited and they're laughing and drinking with each other. Good times never feel so good. So good, so good, so good. Oh, and the guy up at the mic, the front man of the band is being like a wedding singer and encouraging everybody. Oh, everybody's having such a good time. So I'm supposed to be, if I was a better person, this would just be a nice thing. Look how happy everyone is. But all I can see is, oh my God, this is so disgusting. How many times can you go ba 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 to Sweet Caroline? 1969. And as soon as the band starts it, everybody's up and everybody's standing up, yay, and they're waving their arms. Look. What is wrong with us? This was my experience at the state fair. I'm sorry. And every band was doing it. Like I said before, if it's a novelty act, if it's some kind of a tribute band, that's kitschy and fun. I can see that. But not every single band at every single venue, every single corner you turn at the state fair. And that's all you got. That's all you got. And when 98%, 99% of the people all singing along and going bop, 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 they're all a bunch of white folks. They're all a bunch of inbred white folks. Seriously. Think of when you came of age. If you came of age in the 70s or the 80s or the 90s, everything you hear is from the 40s and 50s. That would just be weird. If you came up in the 80s and you went to your local corner tavern to hear the cover band, you think they're going to be playing Guy Lombardo, 1930s? No, of course not. Of course they're not going to be doing that. If you came of age in the 70s, they're going to be playing Sweet Georgia Brown. And everybody's up dancing. Yay! That's the equivalent. Everybody today, all the white folks today, 60s, 70s, mid 80s at the latest, because they're a bunch of damn racists. I'm convinced. And you might think I'm stretching the point, but my experience at the Wisconsin State Fair made me think of this. I mean, look around. Look at this sea of white folks and listen to the music. Whoa, 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 listen to the music. Whoa, whoa, listen to the music all the time. 60s, 70s. Maybe creep into the mid 80s, but no more. No, because then it's R&B and hip hop and rap. Can't be having that. I don't know. You think I'm crazy, don't you? Call me crazy. I'm probably crazy. All right, well, it was on my mind. I thought I'd share it with you. I love you. I'm Charles Purcell.